This is the Huawei MateBook X Pro, and I've been using this laptop in place of my 13-inch 2020 Intel MacBook Pro for the better part of the past 4 months. And after using it for an extended period of time, I finally feel confident giving you my full thoughts on it. Now, disclaimer, Huawei did provide this laptop for me to review, but they aren't paying me anything to make this video, and they don't get to see it before it goes live. In addition to that, I am by no means a laptop reviewer, and so I don't have access to all the latest and greatest laptops to compare this particular machine to, so don't expect this review to be scientific by any means. It's really just my experience comparing it to the other machines I've personally used. All right, with that out of the way, let's dive in. So for context, this is Huawei's flagship laptop, meaning it comes with the best specs and design qualities you'll find on any of their laptops. That means we get what they call their 3K full view touch display. We get a really slim and metallic body that looks and feels very premium. And we also have some impressive specs inside, namely the 11th gen Intel Core i7 processor and Intel's Iris Xe graphics card. Now, as mentioned, the laptop I was using prior to the Huawei MateBook X Pro was my 13-inch 2020 Intel MacBook Pro. But what I didn't mention is that I also use a separate dedicated PC machine, which actually serves as my main editing workstation. However, since I'm an Adobe Premiere Pro and Adobe After Effects user, both of which are apps known for their lack of optimization for Mac devices, I was very interested to see whether or not this relatively powerful laptop from Huawei could become a portable editing machine. And the short answer is, not really. Partway through testing this machine, I did a quick comparison to test the export speeds of my various computers using a Premiere Pro project that was located on a Samsung SSD. The project was a roughly 18-minute long, relatively simple sequence with a few layers stacked on top of the other. And in terms of actual editing, things were pretty smooth on the laptop, like making changes to clips and playing back footage. All that good stuff was pretty solid. However, when it came to actually exporting the project to a compressed H.264 MP4 file, my MSI PC took 9 minutes and 20 seconds, whereas the MateBook X Pro took a whopping 42 minutes and 53 seconds. Now, that was quite a bit faster than my MacBook Pro, which completed the export in 57 minutes flat, but it's still not nearly fast enough for the sort of work I do. And therefore, for me, I quickly realized that this wasn't a super viable option for completing video work, at least not on a regular basis. But aside from that really intensive style of work, the laptop has otherwise been really great to use in pretty much every other way. In terms of the design and feel of the laptop, it's honestly very similar to my MacBook Pro, which is, in my opinion, a really high compliment to give. But then even more than that, the bezels around the display are so slim that it just makes for a really immersive experience. Now, in order to make those bezels so slim, we do of course still have that recessed camera that sits in the keyboard, which is fine. But then speaking of the keyboard, it's actually been really nice to use and typing on it has felt great. You also get this fingerprint sensor that's mounted into the power button, which has been really fast and reliable throughout my time using it. And then the trackpad has also been a really solid performer. In fact, it performs very much the same as the one found on my MacBook Pro. In terms of I/O, whilst you do get 2 USB-C ports on the left-hand side of the laptop, both of which support 4K external displays at 60 Hz, you only have a standard USB-A 3.2 port on the right-hand side. And in comparison to my MacBook Pro, which has 4 USB-C ports, 2 on each side of the computer, I've actually really missed those additional USB-C ports on the other side of the Huawei laptop, mainly for the convenience of charging it from whichever side is closest to my nearest outlet. In terms of battery life, I'm someone who often lives with some sort of charger nearby, so I'm never really that concerned with battery. But whenever I have used the laptop without being plugged in for extended periods of processor intensive tasks like using Photoshop or streaming a show online, let's say at night for example, then I've definitely had to make sure to charge it afterwards if I wanted it to last for any meaningful amount of time the next day. That said, the laptop actually comes with a 65-watt fast charger in the box, which can charge the laptop from 0 to 78% in just an hour, which has been very handy whenever I've needed a quick boost. I think when it comes to the actual real-world experience of using this laptop in comparison to my MacBook Pro though, I've personally only found there to be two key differentiating factors: the display and of course the software. Now, whilst the display is ever so slightly dimmer at its max brightness with 450 nits of peak brightness in comparison to the 500 nits of my MacBook Pro, the real benefit of the display on the MateBook X Pro is that it is a touchscreen. And whilst it has taken some time to adjust to this and to actually remember to utilize its touch capabilities, when I have remembered to use it, it has been amazing for all sorts of tasks. In terms of software, well, this is just a matter of whether you prefer Mac OS or Windows. Before Windows 11 came around, I was definitely a much bigger fan of Mac OS, particularly for laptop devices. However, the Windows 11 upgrade, which is available for the MateBook X Pro, which I did install pretty much straight away, actually makes it a much tighter race. For things like multitasking and having multiple windows open at the one time, Windows 11 is hands down a far better experience. Visually though, and even just navigating throughout the entire OS with a trackpad, whilst I really enjoy the changes made with Windows 11, I still prefer Mac OS, but only just. All in all though, I have really enjoyed my experience with Huawei's MateBook X Pro, and I would be more than happy to continue using it as my one and only laptop. It is also a bit cheaper than my 13-inch MacBook Pro, meaning if you're not set on using Mac OS and you're looking for a sleek and impressive laptop at about this price range, then there's really not many better options. If you want to learn more about it, then I've left a link down in the description below. But aside from that, thank you all very much for watching, and I will catch you later.